that is the magic sauce that is going to pave the way for NIO's success, especially in this deflationary economy.
How is the collapse of the housing market affecting consumer budget? How is the economy looking like in China? And what is NIO's secret sauce to win in this deflationary environment? One thing that I've noticed while selling NIOs in the front lines with all these sales reps and also talking to a lot of these sales reps is that people have really reduced their budget by quite a lot. And some people, whilst they love the brand new ES8, they can't afford it. It's outside of their budget, and they actively say, actually, one of the customers actually said they don't have that much money in their pockets. They could only afford a ES6. And this really reflects what the situation is right now, is that a lot of people are lowering their budgets. They want to get the ES8 and they probably can afford it, but because of how things are, they want to save money. They lower their budget and go for the ES6. And some people, they want to get the ES6, but they settle on the ET5T. And some people, they want to get a NIO, but it's outside of their budget, too expensive, and they end up getting a Tesla or a BYD.
As you guys can tell, small ticket purchase is still very hot. This is a restaurant, Haidilao restaurant, very, very busy, lots of economic activity. So I want to talk a bit more about this whole entire China collapse thing with Evergrande and then also Country Garden, what the impact of this is on China and especially people's pockets and NIO buyers, customers, and of course for NIO stock as well. So this is absolutely not a non-event. People saying that this is a non-event, no. There are millions and millions of people's lives impacted by this. I don't want to sound like I'm spreading fear. No. I'm not trying to spread fear. There are millions of people that are impacted, but there are millions of people that aren't impacted. All right? Let me just balance that out first. But these millions and millions of people, what happened to them? Well, they paid for the houses that are to be built, but that they are only halfway built. It's just a concrete structure, and the company, Evergrande or Country Garden, that is supposed to finish building it, ran out of money. Of course, they don't pay the workers. They don't pay for the supplies. Construction stops. It's called a rotten end home, 烂尾楼. Actually, my father-in-law, he bought into one of these homes back in Fuqing, in province of Fujian, and it's just a pain. It's been there for 10 years, this rotten end home, my father-in-law's. And they've been protesting in front of the government to try to get people to fund the project, to finish construction, because they really want them to just, they pay for the houses, but they can't live in it. But this wasn't even Evergrande, all right, or Country Garden. This was some other small developer. But the case in point is these millions of people, they got this concrete home that they paid for, but it's not finished, and they have to keep on paying mortgage payments on this home. And at the same time, they either live in that concrete building with absolutely nothing, no elevators, just concrete slab, or they rent a place, which is what most people do. They rent a place, and that's just a huge financial burden for them. The confidence in the real estate sector is just crashing like crazy. People are not confident, and people, even my father, says that if buying a house is just a trap. You can buy in, but you're not going to be able to get out. He calls it 被套进去了, which just means to be ensnared. And that's true. You buy a house, if you want to get rid of it, it's very hard to find a seller unless you just lowball the price and just lower the price by a lot. And this whole entire real estate collapse is pretty impactful for Chinese wealth in general, because of the fact that 70% of everybody's wealth is tied up in real estate. A lot of people got rich from real estate, even more so than starting businesses. And for the past 20 plus years, it was the for sure guaranteed way of earning money. You buy a house, you hold it for a couple of years, it's going to increase for sure. And we're finally seeing this correction. which isn't bad in a sense, but it does mean this correction lowers everybody's wealth, decreasing their budget. And especially for high-end purchases like a NIO or other high-end ticket items, their budgets have essentially shrunk. The money they allocated to buy a car has shrunk. They're more likely to spend money on cheaper vehicles, cheaper cars. That's why I say that the sub-brand is absolutely critical. So you're seeing a lot more growth in those cheaper EVs. Those EVs just selling like crazy because people can't afford the most expensive EVs. And here in China, pretty much prices of everything have been decreasing. And it's not because they want to, but because they have to get buyers. Otherwise, people just don't buy it. My wife right now is with my son, and they went to Gap store to go buy some clothes for him. They're all on discount, insane discount. Cut prices for survival. Everybody's doing it, from small shops to luxury brands to automakers to even restaurants. And we're seeing China enter into deflation. Now keep in mind, there's still a lot of people with money, tons of money, but most people with money tend to save it and not spend it. And because the Chinese government recently put a cap on most fixed yield products, a cap at 3%, that just means people have to save more money to get the same amount of returns from their savings. And that just means less money for consumer goods, or in other words, less budget to spend on whatever they were going to spend on. That is why I always say, once again, the sub-brand is absolutely critical. Come out with a cheap car that can do battery swap that's around the same price as the starting price of a Model 3 or even cheaper, but then the magic sauce is, of course, being able to battery swap and swap into higher capacity batteries, even the 150 kilowatt hour battery. Being able to rent that and pretty much double your range, which is just impossible with other EVs. So you can buy a cheap EV, but you get the range of those high-end EVs. That is the magic sauce that is going to pave the way for NIO's success, especially in this deflationary economy. So as a result of the housing crash and deflationary environment here in China, people's budgets for automobile purchases have been lowered. And hence why NIO also did the smart move of lowering prices. But they may have to lower prices even further. But the better thing to do is to just get the sub-brand out as soon as they can and take market share from BYD, from Tesla, GAC Ion, which they've been selling like crazy as well. The sub-brand is absolutely critical in this environment. Wish you guys good health and good wealth. See you in the next one. Peace out.